With such an array of health fads available, it's a relief to know that the ideal tools for healing and health have always been available at home. Hi, I am Christine Lynn Stormer-Fryer, also known as Chris Stormer, the Universal Foot Lady. Many years ago, I channeled through at home with Mind, Body and Soul, and although I have shared this amazing information through presentations worldwide, only now have I made time to do these videos. The advantage of being considered off the wall is that I am known to entertain bizarre notions acquired from universal insights and shared by using my hand-drawn charts from my presentations, along with cartoon diagrams inspired by Google to reveal some handy and incredible DIY tools available. These insights create an awareness of what is available at home to assist in attaining and maintaining better health, egged on by natural healing therapies such as reflexology, the combination of which is so self-empowering. The head of the household is the brain, with a massive range of faculties to think consciously while acting and reacting unconsciously. The top of the head, symbolized by the roof, stores all thoughts. The forehead, represented by the home's flashing, reveals the expression of ideas. The eyes, mirrored by the windows, offer insight and opinions. The nose affords ventilation to air and motivate concepts. The mouth, representing all doorways, encourages two-way communication. While the jaw, reflected by the hinges throughout the home, is essential for the mobility and security of notions. What-ifs take up a tremendous amount of space and accommodation in the mind, all boiling down to worry and fear. Thoughts of home are great instruments for opening doors to the back of the mind and becoming aware of possible skeletons lurking in the dark. As the body moves, energy shifts according to whatever is being entertained in the mind, with every thought having a profound impact. Too much concern or value placed on material possessions leads to insecurity, invariably causing fear, anxiety, and discontent. Clearing out storage areas assists in clearing out non-essential memories, detrimental beliefs, and overly exaggerated poor me stories, all well past their sell-by date, opening the mind to the many opportunities residing in the home to think again. Having a roof overhead and a place to live is a privilege and a relief. Well constructed, it can last for years and endure an incredible amount of onslaught. Whatever goes on under the roof is indicative of the type of hospitality, while a cat on a hot tin roof reveals extreme restlessness and intense agitation. Blowing the top off is of no help. Asbestos roofs, perceived to be a health hazard, highlight deep issues with a father figure still residing in the lungs. This is not to blame, but to understand. Being innovative and resourceful helps raise the roof to new levels. Hats off to those heads running smooth households despite the odds. Hats are some of the most universally worn accessories in the world, symbolizing many things from oppression to liberation, while also indicating occupations if part of a uniform, as well as signifying authority and power. Covering the head, thoughts are contained and preserved, which is why it is best to be wary of drivers wearing caps and hats. On entering a home, the removal of a hat is a sign of respect. Roof dwellers such as bats, rats, squirrels, bees, birds, cobwebs, and so on, all have a message of what is going on in the top knot. Bats create an awareness of how insane it is for the mind to be restricted to limited beliefs like the belfry. It's enough to drive anybody mad. Meanwhile, rats appear in the roof when increasingly ratty from being caught up in the crazy human rat race, encountering some good-for-nothing parasites, rascals, and rogues. Then squirrels draw attention to conserving stores, especially more than is required, symbolic of ideas being hoarded. Abandoned, dusty old cobwebs, originally built to catch prey, serve as a reminder to clean hard-to-reach parts of the home, not just under the roof, but everywhere, to decontaminate the mind. In times gone by, many homes had thatched roofs, thickly piled straw secured with rocks. It was the warmest place for animals, attracting mice and bugs on the inside and pets on the roof. Until it rained heavily, that is. As the thatch and rocks began to slide, so too did the animals, hence the expression raining cats and dogs. Although there are some less savory theories as to how this idiom came about. Thatching falling out is symbolic of pulling the hair out. If due to monkeys or baboons, then it's likely to be due to some monkey business. It must be in the attic or loft somewhere. After all, that is where the past resides. The attic of the mind resembles an attic, even when there isn't one. Full of memories and rarely visited, yet the energy overhead can cause headaches when aching to get ahead, playing havoc with the mind as with Alzheimer's disease, the old-timers disease, and dementia. Things going against the grain with a host of conflicting thoughts is excruciating for migraine sufferers. Getting rid of the physical clutter unclutters the mental clutter. Also, be aware that occupants of a converted attic become the head of the household and likely to go over the owner's head with some even higher aspirations. The importance of a ceiling is frequently overlooked. Not only does it ensure a warm and relatively dust-free home, but it can also complement the decor with a fresh new appearance. A ceiling is often placed on thoughts. For example, a bamboo ceiling hampers the career of those with Asian descent. A brass ceiling is gender biased, making it difficult for military women to advance through the ranks. A glass ceiling prevents promotion in the office among targeted minorities. With prices going through the ceiling, it's not uncommon to get angry and hit the ceiling. A ceiling in a terrible state, even falling apart, indicates the impact of ceilings imposed on how to think. Fury at having to contain personal ideals can result in meningitis, inflammation of the brain's covering. Seepage with water stains on the ceiling reveal a leak and the possible disclosure of confidential information, indicating that it's time to lift the ceiling on thoughts. The facade of the home says it all. Representing the face, it creates a first impression and provides clues as to what to fix when faced with facial issues such as acne, erupting when infuriated at having to face something awful. Whatever is said behind closed doors, instead of to the face, can cause an outbreak of cold sores. Wrinkles reflect the concerns and worries filling the home, often due to set ways of thinking. Hardened toe pads, especially on the big toes, indicate a serious and possibly pretentious approach to life, putting on a front or wearing a mask. To fix it, it must be faced. The conscious mind is the main occupant, with the brains and beliefs infiltrating the home and body consciously, unconsciously, and subconsciously, reflected through everything hanging around the place. Over time, these collect and accumulate dust, as do amassed, worn-out thoughts and accrued old belief systems, both becoming useless with time. The brain also houses sensory and intellectual apparatus, with the study and the computers representing the workings of the mind and determining the state of the home. Traditionally, the study is the home's dedicated workplace, associated with wisdom, experience, and enrichment, making it the perfect place for the computer to reside. What happens here affects every aspect of the home and the body. The human brain is the most incredible computer, and computers, like the brain, control the world in so many diverse ways. Both have advanced incredibly. Once the size of a building, computers are now palm-sized, with a greater capacity than all the old computers in the world put together. As the extension of the mind, the computer has a memory information storage device, just like the deep subconscious of the brain. The input invariably determines the output, so treat computers with love and affection. Even give it a name. Greet it in the morning and thank it at night, and never ever let it know you're in a hurry. Thoughts entering the body and ultimately the home are first scanned, judged, and programmed, then distorted and changed. Those dwelling in the past, reliving old hurts, regretting lost joys, feeling ashamed of things badly done, or imagining fearful consequences, waste a lot of precious time and energy. Terrifying memories, fears, and anxieties tucked at the back of the mind and well out of sight at home cause uncertainty and uneasiness. Constant conditioning from the media, spawning unnecessary concern and worry, result in further mental anguish and a greatly distorted imagination. The distressing impressions made on the conscious mind are revealed through the state and condition of the home. Clutter, mess, litter, disorder, chaos, and so on indicate a deeply concerning issue residing in the mind. With clutter on top of cupboards, symbolic of chaotic thoughts and a possible problem just dumped there but still hanging over the head, interfering with the ability to think clearly. Being surrounded by clutter gives rise to anxiety, inertia, and negative thoughts, and can be positively overwhelming and soul-destroying. Unnecessary, worthless articles take up valuable space, clutter the mind, leaving little or no room to think, let alone function. Even though decluttering is a huge undertaking, it is an absolute must and an opportunity to free the soul from unwanted obstacles. Placing the desk so that the back is against the wall provides backing and support, while having the door and windows in sight allow for all the comings and goings to be detected. A mess on the desk indicates frustration and over-controlling nature, whereas an organized desk makes it so much easier to get on and saves time. Clearing the desk at the end of the day is vital for a clear conscience and a fresh start at the beginning of the next day. Jotting down thoughts and important information coming to mind is such a relief, especially when suffering from Craft's disease and can't remember a flipping thing. The pen, symbolic of the predominant male member, the pen is, penis, is a real asset until it runs out of ink, while a pencil is still a pen, but with lead in it. An eraser or rubber, besides its sexual connotations, provides the opportunity to rub out mistakes, while rulers define boundaries and measure success. With all that's required at hand, it is so much easier to get on. The frame of mind, assembled according to the family framework, is based on ingrained belief systems, instilled and enforced through certain rules and regulation. The size of doors and windows influence the capacity of the mind, determining outlooks on life and the ability to see the bigger picture. Also swaying the mind are pictures within picture frames, conjuring up a host of memories. Everybody is framed every day through questions asked, comments made, judgments, or evaluations formulated, while thoughts and words are framed even before being uttered. Check whether the frames in the home and frames of reference in the mind are still relevant. Whatever the mind is buying into, and why it is drawn into buying non-essentials just for the sake of it, is indicative of buying into ridiculous thoughts and crazy beliefs on offer. It can never buy happiness, no matter how much the article costs, and the price paid is just not worth it. Meanwhile, moving financial documents stored for tax reasons to the basement or somewhere where the energy is out of the way helps in not having to account for everything. Homes are generally furnished according to what is believed to be affordable. Inherited or second-hand furniture has a completely different energy to newly acquired ones. Awkwardly placed furniture blocks the energy flow, so rearranging a room and clearing under the furnishings releases a whole load of trapped energy. The mind can then be equipped with new concepts, while emotions are fortified through greater insight, mirrored onto the balls of the feet, while the digestive system is supplied with novel experiences picked up by the upper halves of the soul insteps. Relationships enjoy a fair exchange of energies relayed to the lower halves of the soul insteps, and the family can be furnished with greater values showing up on the heels. Treating the home's decor in a mindful way, with everything coming together, appeases the body's orchestra. In other words, the endocrine glands. A beautiful room can either be bright and exciting or calming, inviting meditation. Honoring each room's natural rhythms encourages energy to flow unencumbered for the home to resound with harmony. From pale lilac to deep dark eggplant purple has long since been a favorite color of tween to teens, being the highest color of the spectrum, associated with wisdom, creativity, power, and ambition. Purple is a great choice for the intellectual areas of the home and has a powerful impact on moods and behavior. Closely associated with purple are indigo and violet, together with the element of ether, providing plenty of space to think and play around with ideas. Believe it or not, it's thanks to the hole in the ozone layer, allowing the ultraviolet rays of the universal spotlight to shine through, that raises human consciousness and provides the clarity to see what on earth is going on, with many conditioned interfering these divine rays. Toes contain the brain reflexes and are great indicators of what is going on in the mind, with the big toes most likely to get stubbed when subconsciously knocking one's own ideas. Being too dogmatic can cause gout, indicating that it's time to get out of one's own head and visit the heart. It is quite natural to feel fearful when contemplating life changes, but the key is to deal with the fear and move on anyway. In South Africa, holding thumbs is an expression used when longing for a desired outcome. Linked to the brain, thumbs are connected to the inner self and are powerful tools when it comes to exploring deep within. When uncentered, thumbs are twiddled aimlessly, but when placed tip to tip, the mind becomes focused and the body feels more balanced and stabilized amid the daily cyclones of life. A thumb ring symbolizes individualism and is often believed to serve as protection against evil spirits. In times gone by, some widows wore the thumb ring to honor and remember their late husband. Responsible for maintaining harmony in the home is the endocrine system, influenced by the occupants at home. When there's an invasion of ants, somebody is being a pest. The harmonious production of hormones and composition of the mind and body relies on the hypothalamus at the base of the brain, instructing the pituitary gland, the conductor of the orchestra, to take control according to who is ruling the roost. The pituitary gland, the control freak of the body, constantly organizes a complex symphony of daily activities and movements by instructing all the other glands on how to perform, although its competence is seriously manipulated and frequently hindered by four major deterrents of modern living: money, greed, power, and fear. Meanwhile, the pineal or pineal gland makes the mind tick. It hates the same old, An ever-vigilant gland, it keeps everything in sync by regulating all bodily cycles. The slightest change in the Earth's magnetic field alerts it into making appropriate adjustments for inner harmony to be maintained, whether fighting the clock or going with the flow. Since it relies on the amount of light entering the eyes, ample light in the home lifts the mood and enhances intuition, the inner tutor. The most important occupant is the soul, the owner of the property. Its essence brings everything to life, providing a meaning and reason to live, while its condition determines the state of the body and the home. Just as nervous tissue and neurons are powerful leads throughout the body, so too are electrical wires throughout the home. A flick of a switch directs energy from the source to the place of use, directly or indirectly affecting the ambience, in the same way that the brain is switched on by meaningful and useful stimuli, such as innovative ideas, when correct buttons are pushed. Unscrambling tangled leads helps to calm the nerves and prevents tripping over one's own 2 feet. The electrical plug is a transportable male connector with protruding pins that match the openings of the female contacts in a socket. Conflict between the male and the female's way of thinking has sparks flying, even blowing a fuse or two when wishing to socket to them. The key is to keep plugging on and persevering despite the odds. When it comes to electricity, the general way of thinking is influenced by the power supply coming from the main source. Subjected to these en masse notions and opinions, nerves convey messages between mind and body via electrical currents distributed throughout under the direction of the conductor, the pituitary gland. It picks up all the urges to create a much-needed surge, with the amount of power and energy relayed intensified when a live wire, activist, or bright spark, while remaining earthed and grounded. Electrical cables are insulated in the same way that nerve cell axons have myelin sheaths, although they have short gaps in between, increasing the rate of electrical impulses passing along the axon. An electrical device, a switch, makes or breaks the connection in an electrical circuit. Switching the brain off is not so easy, although switching the computer off before retiring to bed helps. Among many other switches is a tress of false or detached hair used to supplement natural hair and extend one's way of thinking. Hair is the body's antennae, influencing the areas in the home. These live wires continually pick up signs, signals, and sensations from the airwaves, being either omnidirectional, radiating in all directions like a bad hair day when it's difficult to think straight, or directional when thoughts are concentrated in a certain direction. The scalp keeps the hair on at times of utter frustration, while the cranium holds it all together. The ever-tolerant unconscious mind is the caretaker, housekeeper, dishwasher, gardener, and general dog's body, yet is often taken for granted. Keeping everything ticking over nicely is easy when the conscious and subconscious minds cooperate, but any interference with the smooth running of the home, such as hoarding and hanging on to old, worn-out ideas and objects, gets in the way, accumulating dust and dirt, adding to the workload and leading to extreme frustration. Known as the City of Jewels, the solar plexus is the center of personal power, governing personality, ego, and identity, along with freedom, choice, and authenticity, with its enthusiasm enhanced by solar power in the home. When the energy of the solar plexus is out of sync, gastric or digestive disorders such as stomach pain, heartburn, acid reflux, nausea, ulcers, or a loss of appetite are a possibility. The spine is the first structure to be formed in the womb from which all the other parts stem. It is the axis around which everything revolves, being the architect of reality. Libraries of background information reside within the vertebrae, while a blueprint of the divine plan is encased within the spinal fluid. A pillar of incredible strength and endless support, the spine forms the central core of the body, providing the dignity to stand tall and become the backbone of society. Reflected in the arches of both feet, it represents the time in the womb and the bridge between dependency and independency. Babies initially have no instep, being so totally dependent on others for support. Later in life, the arch falls when the support system collapses, or overextends when bending over backwards to prop others up. Archiving and filing, be it in paper format or digitally, preserves and retains multiple records of inactive information for long-term retention. Some is legally required, some considered valuable, but having too many unnecessary documents becomes an encumbrance. Undesirable backlog from the past weighs heavily on the spine, the home of the will, where the unconscious mind resides. Throwing out files no longer of use from the filing system and computer can relieve back pain and back issues. Offensive thoughts hurt and pain the brain. Critical thoughts limit and restrict it, while threatening thoughts intimidate it, making it recoil and possibly even retaliate. The mind's tendency to spin endless fantasies of possible disaster is accelerated by concern from reading newspapers and watching television news, with headlines appearing as wrinkles of deep concern on the forehead. Whatever is dwelt upon enhances or diminishes personal well-being. The body reacts badly when encountering metal and ends short of mental when there's an intolerance of the mentality in the home. Chrome, used in paints, is considered an occupational hazard, but contact dermatitis only occurs when kin are getting under the skin. The contents of the mind and home can be changed at any time. Useless, outdated, dysfunctional, and worthless items, like antiquated, troublesome thoughts, often tucked out of sight in the dark confines of the subconscious mind, can lead to depression from being in the dark, while too much concern or value placed on material possessions creates fear and anxiety, all energetically delegated to the back of the cupboards and drawers, affecting the senses. When it comes to the senses, there can be no body without the senses and no senses without a body. The brain constantly makes sense of the flood of sensory messages, while the home assists in experiencing all six senses. The body doesn't feel a thing. It's the soul that brings it to life. If polluted with an onslaught of senseless input, the nerves ultimately become dull, affecting the electrical input. Putting a lid on it, if you can find one, doesn't help either. Contained thoughts grow out of proportion when fed with drama and distress, but all is not lost. Toes, reflecting various aspects of the brain, are the body's antennae, accommodating all the inhabitants and all the habits within. Vibrating overall to purple, each pair of toes is connected to a particular color-filled vibration, influencing corresponding parts of the body and home. Stretching toes wide apart is a brilliant way to expand and open the mind, while a sixth toe adds an additional dimension to thoughts extending way beyond the norm. The universal need to be accepted by others can be a barrier that prevents authenticity. Feeling inept or unintelligent makes many act out of character and adopt an affected persona. A common fear of being considered a nutcase, experienced by many at some point in their lives, with nuts in the family not falling far from the family tree. Bad reactions indicates an intolerance to nutty concepts, or doing the nut, or off the nut, or a hard nut to crack. A peanut allergy suggests an intolerance of a parent using only a pea-sized part of the brain when capable of so much more. The state of the handles, symbolic of hands and wrists, reveal how situations are being handled. A door handle has a handle on what is being said or not said. A window handle has a handle on emotions. An oven handle on heated situations, and a drawer handle on its contents. A stiff handle indicates inflexibility, particularly when giving a handle to one's critics and being taken advantage of. It breaks when no longer able to handle a situation out of one's hands and when constantly flying off the handle and losing control, or possibly passing the buck to avoid having to handle unpleasant situations. It could even be an issue with somebody with a handle to their name, in other words, a title. A squeaky handle mimics all the moaning and groaning about all that is having to be handled. Getting a handle on the situation and grasping the gist of it helps in managing things better, encouraging the handles to function with ease. Fortunately, nobody is given more than they can handle. In extreme situations, it would be wise to handle with kid gloves due to extreme sensitivity, whereas handling without gloves implies harsh treatment. In times gone by, gloves symbolized social status, customs, and traditions worn to flaunt the wearer's wealth, while working-class women used gloves to conceal their rough, tanned hands and appear to be from a higher social class. The foot in the door technique is a persuasion method, mainly used by pushy door-to-door salesmen or members of a cult. Meanwhile, feet make an outstanding contribution to the quality of life and overall well-being. Reflexology, a profound and effective foot massage technique, invites recipients to stride ahead with greater understanding of the ups and downs invariably encountered en route in life. Shoes reveal personal boundaries, with the inner edges being intellectual margins and the outer perimeters social limitations. Unless a big cheese too big for his boots, men's footwear is traditionally more practical and sensible, yet conceals a tremendous amount of innate potential, while ladies' footwear undergoes endless fashion crazes and some seriously impractical trends. Young children generally prefer not to wear shoes, wishing to be free to explore the wonders of the world. Throwing out old, worn-out shoes is symbolic of dispensing with the old, worn-out thoughts, easing the journey ahead with a spring in the step, while the possibility of a new pair of shoes offers a fresh approach to life. In the home, many different types of nails depend on the material being driven into and degree of holding power required. On the hands and the feet, nails reflect the cranium and protect the brain and the innermost thoughts. Manicuring nails on the body has been fashionable for eons. More than an emotionally based statement, the lengths undertaken with nails to entice a man or keep him at a distance are implied by the word manicure, man I cure. Having others stepping on one's toes is like stamping out personal concepts, so it's not just physically challenging, but also mentally distressing. Once the feet are headed out the door, the mind has gone ahead. May as well forget the bread. Too often, the external environment is blamed for the state of mind, but actually it is the mind that determines the environment, making hell out of heaven or heaven out of hell, with thoughts being the seeds of the body that once rooted grow and control life. The mind is like a fertile garden. A bad reaction to seeds is from obsolete seeds of discontent, discord, disillusionment, or disappointment, all spelling disaster. Unwholesome thoughts planted in the mind produce unhealthy cells, whereas wholesome thoughts, nourished regularly, generate healthy cells. Ideas are seeds, the material of the mind, the impetus for mental nourishment that nurtures the body's organic seeds when cultivated intelligently. Everything springs from the elusive seeds of thought. Nothing would happen without them. The body is filled with organic seeds. In the heart, it is the fertile seeds of love. In the female ova, seeds bursting with exciting new concepts, whilst the testes are packed with seeds in the form of sperm. Words are also seeds, growing and reproducing within. Cultivating seeds of contentment are ideal for harvesting peace in the body and in the home. All good things are available in the spiritual garden of thoughts, for whatever is planted there grows and manifests in life. If you'd like to explore this more, please go to my website www.alwaysbewithoutthee.com, where you will find information on the 9 books that I have already written on the subject of reflexology, channeling, and the language of the feet, as well as the emotional and spiritual aspects. Remember, healing and health are only 2 feet away.